ChildofBones. You're now here in London. Is this the connection that you have with your ancestors? Is it as strong as it always has been? Now that you're on the other side of the world?
That's a really interesting question, and I guess it's different, but it's different because I've grown rather than actual geographical referencing, I think. My ancestors still come to my aid in the same vivid way that they did when I lived in New Zealand, so I would say that there's been no disconnection from the geography. I'll still dream vividly of sacred sites where my ancestors are buried, so therefore I'm still linked very much on a metaphysical and also a psychological level, I think. I don't feel... The thing is, what's quite nice, I quite like about my personality is I never often feel separation. So I don't yearn for the lands I come from. I don't yearn for the connection to be near the bones of my ancestors. I can close my eyes and vividly see where they're buried and where they held me last before they passed away. So that's quite handy, living on the other side of the world. So I still hear them, I still, in times of trouble, and I still see the same ancestral light, which is what I've learnt to identify from other spirits when it's the ancestors. And my God, when my ancestors turn up, or the power of them turns up, and this beautiful... It's a hard colour, bizarrely, even though I've seen it all my life to explain, but it's almost like, it's like sunlight, but it's got a slight tinge of peach through it. It's an unusual colour. I've never ever sort of seen it and thought, oh, that's the colour of my ancestors. It's consistently, without fail, remained the same colour. So when I see it, I know it's not Baba Yaga, I know it's not the Black Widow, I know it's not Grandmother Sia. This is my ancestors, and I pay attention. And my ancestors have absolutely never, ever, ever even been, what's the word, vague? When they speak, it's worth listening to. It's clear-cut, succinct, bullet points, you know. So when they turn up, I'm like, hello, I've got full attention. They've got my full attention. And that still happens consistently in my life in London. I still had it when I was living in Argentina. I had it when, you know, I spent time in Australia. I mean, so for me, the power of the ancestors walks with me. And why would I think that that would be the case, and it's quite natural, is because I believe that I carry the power in my bones. You know, it's in my DNA, it's in my blood level. And also, if you like, I think as well, there's something about a modern witch for me, about her ancestors, or how I practice, because obviously I can't speak for all witches, and I wouldn't want to, because we're all so different or unique, is that I revere my ancestors. I feed them, I love them, I praise them. You know, this is a real anchoring in third dimensional reality. When you actually praise living presences just because they're behind the veil, you really pull them through and allow them to exist. This is an interactive, life is interactive, it's an interactive universe. So I very much so also, in a way, enable them to participate in life more, because I am regularly feeding them, honouring them, putting flowers on my altar. You know, this is a modern witch that reveres her ancestors in daily practice almost. So what you have there is a very strong pulling through of the energy, or it pulls through from my bones into my body. It's a very almost physical anchored experience.
That's very, very interesting. So here in 3D in 21st century London, are there any specific or useful examples in terms of day-to-day manifestations or anything that you get from those ancestors, or that you've had recently?
Oh, well, obviously I have quite a good connection with them at Halloween in particular, in Samhain. It's one of the festivals that I personally revere with great honour and flair and flamboyance. So I always honour them particularly then, and I always have contact. So there's always a conversation or a little yearly review about what I should maybe focusing on for the better for myself, to improve my life, where I'm flourishing, what I could let go of. So there's always a bit of a sit down with the table, with the elders, and have a bit of a chat, really.
But this is more about general guidance and strategy rather than specific. I mean, the car crash incident was a very interesting example of intervention. I was just wondering if there was anything similar to that in modern London.
Modern London. Yeah, I guess I moved into this flat about 3 years ago, and the actual day I moved into the flat, I was so tired because I had to clear out the synagogue I'd been living in, and I moved into here, and oh my God, I was so tired, and yeah, I was wrecked. And finally, when I got all the gear in here and blah blah, I went to bed, and I just couldn't believe how exhausted I was. Anyway, the strangest thing happened, and it had never happened before, where I was just falling asleep, and the ancestors, my ancestors, with the beautiful peachy sunlighty light, pierced through three-dimensional reality next to my bed, like they do when they're showing their presence, and just were talking nonsense to me. And it wasn't nonsense like word salad. It was strange kind of, you know, like I said before, they're very succinct in their speech to me. It's very well thought out. It's bullet point. It's things I need to pay attention to. But this was kind of, isn't it nice that the bed's comfortable? Isn't it great that you've moved into a place that you can afford now? Da 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 da. And I was thinking, when have you ever had day-to-day conversation with me? Like, this is not a picnic, we're not at a tea party, I'm trying to go to sleep. I was absolutely bone tired, and it went on all night. I had never in my experience in my entire life had the ancestors talking to me as if we were having tea and biscuits. Anyway, as the night drew on, I couldn't believe it. I was so furious at them, and which had never happened before either. And then as the evening drew on, or the early hours drew on, I actually got up to go to the bathroom. And to my horror, there was a leak from upstairs, and it was running down the wall, and it was going into the electrics. And in the electric socket was the men's shaver thing in the bathroom, so I couldn't switch off the electricity, and it was actually hissing out smoke. And when I panicked, and then I had to run around this flat that I just didn't know where anything was. I literally just moved my stuff into this flat. And then I thought, okay, there's got to be a power switch to cut off all the mains, because by this stage it's 4 in the morning or something ridiculous. And then, of course, I tried to do that, and then the alarm got set off because it thought I was a burglar trying to cut the mains off. And oh my God. Anyway, it was a very long night as I sat awake wondering what to do. And of course I was terrified to go back to sleep in case a house fire started with the whole electrics in the flat. And then I realised, of course, I felt mortified. I realised, of course, my ancestors were keeping me awake so I wouldn't go into a deep, deep sleep. Because, you know, it was dangerous. The whole place could have gone on fire. So, yeah, that was probably the most vivid thing that's happened in London since I've lived here. They're very, very connected. They're very, you know, available to me. I'm very blessed with the power of my ancestors. And certainly, yeah, the geography has never been a problem.